On New Year's Eve, December 31st, the country plunged into a culinary frenzy, preparing traditional holiday salads. Tamara Nikolaevna, a kind-hearted woman in her middle years, was also getting ready for the celebration. Sociable and cheerful, she couldn't imagine holidays without lively gatherings of family, friends, and neighbors. For her, these were moments for meeting, exchanging news, and having heartfelt conversations. This time, she once again opened her home to everyone. Although not everyone could accept the invitation, a rather large company was expected. Her daughter and son-in-law also decided to celebrate New Year's with family, saving their friends' gatherings for later. By evening, Tamara Nikolaevna had almost everything ready. The table seemed to groan under the weight of various dishes as she had spent almost the entire day by the stove. Her husband, on the other hand, did not share his wife's culinary enthusiasm. He eagerly awaited the moment when he could relax at the table with a drink and pleasant conversation. While Tamara Nikolaevna conjured up gastronomic delights, he took on the role of a gracious host, greeting guests. He approached this task with full responsibility, raising toasts with each arrival, and by midnight, he was already in high spirits. Most guests arrived around 11, as planned. Everyone was eager to start the celebration, but out of respect for the hostess, they decided to wait a little longer. However, the wait dragged on, and it was decided to send an envoy to the kitchen. This mission was entrusted to Tamara Nikolaevna's son-in-law, Artyom. To be honest, Artyom wasn't thrilled about visiting his mother-in-law, fearing the holiday company would be dull. But his wife insisted, promising an unforgettable evening alone upon their return home. Entering the kitchen, the man addressed his mother-in-law. "Tamara Nikolaevna, how much longer will you be cooking? The guests are getting impatient." Just a moment, I can't leave everything, it will burn." "Perhaps I can help you," Artyom offered. With these words, he headed to the table where appetizing caviar sandwiches were displayed. To reach the delicacy, he had to lightly nudge his mother-in-law, who involuntarily arched, and her figure, clad in a tight skirt, briefly pressed against him. Artyom was surprised to feel a pleasant thrill from this touch. It seemed to him that Tamara Nikolaevna froze, but then immediately continued her cooking. Taking the dish of sandwiches, he moved back and touched her again in the same manner. This time, Artyom paused, awaiting a reaction. His mother-in-law froze again, but didn't utter a word. Both enjoyed this unusual moment, and soon Artyom returned to the kitchen for more plates. As he passed, he deliberately casually put an arm around her waist, as if helping himself get by. The son-in-law felt a strange sensation, similar to what he experienced when hugging his wife. It was very unusual. In the next room, about 15 guests were gathered at the table, including his wife, while he was in the kitchen flirting with his mother-in-law, sensing her reciprocal interest. Tamara Nikolaevna herself was surprised by what was happening. She hadn't received signs of attention in a long time, and suddenly there was such unexpected interest, and from her own son-in-law, no less. The woman felt a long-forgotten sensation that she was still attractive to men. Artyom took the plates and went back. This time, Tamara Nikolaevna slightly arched towards him. Touching his mother-in-law for the 4th time, he felt her clear interest. The man then froze for a few seconds, awaiting her next actions. Overcoming her embarrassment, his mother-in-law pressed herself even closer to her son-in-law. "I don't want to leave, but it's time to go," he said with a hint of regret in his voice. "Yes, I'm coming," she replied, a little hoarsely. Artyom returned to the table and immediately asked his father-in-law to switch places with him so he could sit closer to his mother-in-law. "Work might call me at any moment. I'll need to step away to talk," he awkwardly lied, knowing there would be no calls an hour before New Year's. Tamara Nikolaevna was delighted to see her son-in-law sitting next to her. Joyful exclamations once again filled the room. Less than a minute later, Tamara Nikolaevna placed her hand on her son-in-law's knee. Initially, she didn't move, and Artyom, as if testing, tried to gauge if he had gone too far. His mother-in-law almost immediately signaled that everything was fine. Moreover, soon the woman, slipping off her shoe, began to caress his foot right through his jeans. Both the son-in-law and the mother-in-law were astonished by what was happening and the spontaneity of their actions, but they couldn't stop. The man's hand increasingly found its way onto her knees. The woman made no attempt to stop him, enjoying the long-forgotten sensations that stirred her. Tamara Nikolaevna was often distracted, so his hand, though it slipped 3 times along the edge of her skirt, couldn't go any further. This frustrated them both. Finally, midnight arrived, and the chimes rang on the television. In their family, it was a tradition to kiss on the lips or cheek at this moment. As usual, Artyom pecked his wife on the lips, but then noticed she was engrossed in conversation with other guests. He then looked at his mother-in-law. Seeing her inviting smile, he leaned in and touched Tamara Nikolaevna's lips with his own. The celebration continued in an atmosphere of general jubilation, with alcohol flowing freely. Artyom's wife was animatedly sharing women's secrets with new acquaintances, while Tamara Nikolaevna's husband was already too drunk to stand. Artyom, seizing the moment, subtly squeezed his mother-in-law's leg under the table, as if inviting her to a secret rendezvous. Less than a minute later, Tamara Nikolaevna followed him into the kitchen. "What are we going to do?" Artyom asked with undisguised excitement. "I'll ask the neighbors for their key right now. I'll say I need to get something from their fridge," Tamara Nikolaevna replied, struck by her own boldness. Forgetting everything else, they fell upon each other with youthful passion. Without losing a second, they settled directly on the floor, oblivious to discomfort and forgetting time and place. Mother-in-law and son-in-law merged in a single impulse. They didn't remember how long this madness lasted. Only persistent knocking at the door brought them back to their senses. The neighbors had returned earlier than expected. "We need to come up with something quickly," Artyom whispered. "I know what to do." Tamara Nikolaevna hastily tidied herself. The lovers quickly scattered in different directions. Tamara Nikolaevna opened the door and met her neighbor's surprised gaze. "Well, where have you been hiding? We've been waiting for you forever," the neighbor exclaimed. "Sorry, we accidentally knocked over your sugar bowl," Artyom shouted from the kitchen, pretending to gather spilled sugar. "Oh, no big deal. Let's go back. I'll clean it up later," the neighbor replied, quite satisfied with the absurd explanation. Embarrassed but content, the mother-in-law and son-in-law returned to the guests and, as if nothing had happened, continued the festivities. Despite many noticing their long absence, no one could imagine the true reason for their disappearance. Waiting for an opportune moment, Artyom sent his mother-in-law a message. "I'll be waiting for you at 3 a.m. in my car.